Hi everyone and good morning. Thank you for joining our webinar today titled Acetone Exposure Risk, a Practical Safety Guide. My name is Gaël Ramiot. I'm the Senior Category Manager for the Single-Use Industrial and Exam portfolio covering the EMEA region. Today, I'm with my colleague Mounir Djama. Mounir, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Gaël. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Mounir Djama. I am Senior Manager for Technical Education at Ansell. I'm also a previous safety manager in different industries. I'm also Industrial Hygienist. I'm very happy to be here today to share with you some tips, some information, and provide you some knowledge. Gaël?
Before we start, let's go over a couple of practical tips that will give you a good webinar experience. Firstly, please note that your video and audio have been automatically turned off. If you are facing sound issues, you can log out from this webinar, restart your computer, and rejoin the session. Ensure that your audio is on computer audio. After the presentation, we will have a Q&A. If you have a question for us during the presentation, you can use the question function, which I will explain in the next slide, or you can save it for the Q&A at the end. If you look to the top of your screen, you will see a row of actions that which allow you to change the appearance of your interface. You may hover to perform actions, and you can click on the widgets on the screen to resize them. Let's go through the action items from the left to the right. First item, video, here. So where you will see us. Then you will see you have slides next to video. It's where you will see the PowerPoint of the webinar. Next button, contact me back. If you wish to be contacted after the webinar, you can click on that button. Then you can also click on other tools, and then you will see a drop-down menu. Ask a question. So if you have a question during the webinar, you can enter your question here. Once you have submitted your question, we would have received it, so the box will become empty again, and you don't need to resubmit your question. Your resources is where you will find further information related to this webinar. CC is a translation tool, which I will explain in the next slide. Webinar speakers is where you will find information about us. Then there is survey as well. Sorry, I skipped that one, because we would, of course, appreciate your feedback about this webinar. And reactions is a tool that will allow you to engage with us during this webinar. Could you please react with an emoji to let me know that you are listening? I don't see any reaction on the screen. Okay, there is one. So finally, I would like to mention that we have a translation feature in this webinar, which I will go through in the next slide. The webinar is supported with translations in 10 languages: German, Dutch, French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish, and Danish. If you would like to use this translation, please click on the widget as shown in the PowerPoint. So if you remember, so there is the CC in here that you can click to go for the translations. So when you click on the CC symbol, you will see, so here there is a screenshot of what you can see. You can select your preferred language. And that concludes the practicalities, and now on to something exciting. So today we are playing our popular lucky draw as well. And if you joined in the first 5 minutes, you are automatically added to the lucky draw. We will spin the wheels of name live on the screen and announce the winner on the spot. Today's lucky draw winner will receive Ansell's iFlex 11842 personalized with their name. We will spin the wheel 2 times during this webinar, so keep a lookout. If you're one of today's winner, we'll be in touch with you after the webinar to obtain your address. Now, I would like to wish you an insightful 1 hour.
Thank you, Gaël. Hi again. Hi, everybody.
Mounir, up
So,
to you.
yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. So today we will go through acetone definition, acetone exposure, acetone, the use in the industry, and also the health effect of acetone, and of course, how to choose the right protection against acetone when it's come about the skin protection. So we'll go through it today together. So what is acetone? Acetone is a chemical, of course, it's not surprise. It's the star of the chemicals. It's used in a lot of industry. It's colorless, highly volatile liquid. It's a part of the big family of ketones. It's completely miscible with water and with many other organic solvents. It's an excellent solvent for a wide range of organic and inorganic substances. Acetone also, it's a polar molecule due to the carbonyl group. We'll have a look on that on another slide. Some important information here about the flash point. The flash point is too low, it means 18 degrees. When we check the hazard statements or the H phrase, we call them previously, we see that it's highly flammable liquid and vapors. It's not a surprise when we see the flash point, it's minus 18 degrees. Acetone also can cause a serious eye irritation. It is identified by the H319. Acetone also may cause drowsiness and dizziness. And the last one, following the European communication, the EU H066, repeated exposure may cause skin dryness and cracking. And we will see some information linked to that. Of course, the pictograms, the two pictograms that you will see in the packaging, it's the flammability pictograms and also the question mark pictogram. So I mentioned in the beginning that acetone are part of the family of the ketones, and the ketones are characterized by the carbonyl group, this group, and also how we can recognize them. They, in general, they end with the O-N-E, the suffix O-N-E, like acetone, ketones. You see, they end with O-N-E. They can have linear or cyclic structure. They are used as a solvent for paint, for adhesive, for glue. They serve also as an intermediate in plastic manufacturing. They are used also in the cleaning. They impregnated the wipes or clothes, and they use it for the cleaning. They use also to remove grease, oil, and it's suitable for metal cleaning and also cleaning of electronics and precision components. So you can see it's used in a lot of applications. I mentioned that the ketones, we can find them as linear or cyclic. Here are some examples of the linear ketones, acetone, the MEK, methyl ketones, MIBK and MMPK. The cyclic acetone also, what I would like to highlight, it's the NMP and the methyl pyrrolidone. It's used a lot in the high-tech industry, lithium battery industry. It's used as a solvent, and this NMP is something that you pay attention if you're using it because it's not very safe chemical. So here a quick overview of all the ketones, not all of them, of course, but some of them. What we can say that one of the common points between all these ketones, they are, of course, strong solvent, and they are also used a lot as cleaning agent, and the majority of them, they are flammable and with different health effect on the skin. Majority of them could be absorbed by the skin, can give irritation, can give dryness and cracking of the skin. We will see it a little bit later in the detail. So this is what we can say about the ketones family in general. Acetone, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's flammable liquid and vapors, and also it can lead to explosion. Here in this slide, you see the range of explosion of acetone. Of course, it's a reminder for you guys, the range of explosion is defined by the LEL and UEL, and you can see it's between 2% till 13%. When we are below 2%, in case of ignition, normally we will not have explosion. If it's below more than 13%, it's the same. There is too high suspended product in the air. So you can see the range, even if it's small, the range of explosion. The scientific and safety literature show that some incident linked to acetone. It happened a few years ago in pharmaceutical company where it started with explosion and with a very big fire in the plant. Fortunately, they have only one injured person, but they have huge major material damage. And the cause of the accident, after a leak, after spill outside the building, the vapors migrate inside and through a low-level ventilation grate. And unfortunately, the vapor of acetones accumulate in electrical room. Electrical room, it's area where we can have ignition, source of ignition. So it happened, and the explosion happened, and the fire also happened after. So you see, even the range of explosion is not very big, but the risk is still existing when we are using important amount of acetone. As I mentioned also that it's a polar molecule, thanks for the carbonyl group. You see here the difference of electronegativity between oxygen and the carbon. So the use in industry, I mentioned it before. Acetone, it's used as production intermediate to manufacture to synthesis of other chemicals like acetic acid. It's used as a solvent in pharmaceutical companies, as a drug formulation, and also as a key ingredient in nail polish, for example. And you see this, it's used as solvent in many other industry. And one of the most important usage of acetone, it's a cleaning. I remember I have a chance to work in different industries. Maybe one of the common point between all the maintenance department and some production processes is the cleaning with acetone. It's really very efficient for cleaning, and we will see why. This, it's coming from a web shop where they are selling acetone, and this is what the information that they put. Of course, it's marketing information. Quickly and effectively remove all grease and glue and resin, what is right, of course. Dissolve various paint residue and high volatility. So the high volatility, it means that the cleaner leaves no residue on the cleaning material. So this is why the fact that it solves a lot of chemicals. It's also the high volatility will allow it to have the cleaner leaves no residue in cleaned material. So how it's used for the cleaning? In general, they are using the wipes. So the wipes with acetone, impregnated with acetone, or clothes also. And the cleaning methodology, of course, can differ from industry to another, from companies to another one. So now we will explore the acetone exposure and the route entry to the body. The next slide here is as an introduction. I have a chance to speak a lot with operators in the field during the different customer visits in my previous role also. And when I speak with operators about the acetone, they are surprised when I told them that, yeah, you have to manage it and to handle it with some precautions. And I was really surprised sometimes that they are underestimating the risk of acetone, of course, without exaggerating, but there is a risk, and I feel that a lot of people underestimate it. And I try to understand the reasons. I think the reasons, the first one, as you know, it's naturally produced by the body in metabolism of a fat. It's a byproduct. So they have the illusion that the fact that it's produced by our body, so it's not harmful for our health. The second point is easy accessibility. If I go outside the office here, if I go to the street or the corner shop buying, selling chemicals, I will easily find it for a few euros. I can buy a bottle of acetone. Lack of awareness, as I mentioned, when I speak to operators, and yeah, for them, the fact that we use it at home, so it's okay. And habituation, regular use without any incident can give this feeling that it is safe. But we will see that we need to have some precautions and why. The first way, route of exposure, of course, and most important one, it's inhalation. It's, as I mentioned, acetone, it's highly volatile liquid. And you see here some occupational exposure limit in France and US and Australia. It's between 250 ppm till 500 ppm. Of course, when you are working with important amount of acetone, you need to pay attention on the ventilation. So one of the actions, if you are using important amount, is to ventilate your area to remove all the vapors. Remember, a high volatility, it means that the area can have a lot of vapors in the area when the workers are exposed or where workers are working. So ventilation is the first thing to think. The second thing is about if the operators are exposed for all the day and are using important quantities of acetone, and you validate that with your measurement of the atmosphere, etc. So you need maybe to provide your workers with a filter, with a mask, but not all the filters are efficient against a vapor of acetone. So the AX filter with a boiling point less than 65 degrees, sorry, it's one that you can recommend. And as I mentioned, the inhalation also can lead to cause drowsiness and dizziness. This is the first pathway of chemical exposure. The second one, it's the digestion. In general, it's happened with a lack of hygiene. And it's also linked to the first slide that I showed just before this one, the fact that maybe people underestimate the risk of the acetone. So maybe they don't clean their hands before going to eat. It can happen also the accidental exposure. Everybody saw it, I think, at least one time in his life, the wrong container, we put the wrong chemical in the right container, and this can lead to accident and to drink the chemical by accident. I will come back to the digestion one when we highlight the scientific overview on the acetone yeah, the scientific overview. The third pathway of exposure, of course, it's the skin contact. And for that, I can mention two ways of contact. The first one is direct contact. The direct contact could be the splashes or immersion. And the second one is indirect contact or contaminated surface contact. What I mean by contaminated surface, it could be a tool the tools that the maintenance are using, maybe they are contaminated with other chemicals and also could be contaminated with acetone, or surface, the working surface, and also the cloth here. The cloth, it's absorb acetone, and if we are not protecting our hand, we can be in contact with this acetone. I mentioned in the beginning the hazard statement, the EUH 066, repeated exposure might cause skin dryness or cracking. The acetone is very powerful solvent. As you know, our skin, it's by the way the biggest organ that we have. It's protecting us against external factors, chemical or physical factors. And to have this protection, we have also lipids in our skin. We have a grease in our skin. And this grease is really protecting us also. It's involved in the process of protection. If I use solvent in general and acetone in particular, these lipids can be removed because it will dissolve, the acetone will dissolve this grease that we have naturally on our skin. And the fact that we remove this grease, the skin became dry. And if it's become dry, it will lead to cracking. And cracking can lead to dermatitis and can lead also maybe to other complications. You see, if you have injuries in your skin, you will be more exposed, not only to acetone, maybe to other factors. So the repeated exposure, it's really important to consider, typically for the workers who are working all the day on cleaning with acetone. So now we will have some quiz. It's a time to try to win our gift also. Since acetone is naturally produced in the body, is it completely harmless to human health? Is it true or false? I give you a few seconds to choose the right answer. Gael, I don't know if you see the participation rate, so I can maybe move to the next slide.
I don't see it yet. Only see reactions, okay, but not participation rate.
So let's discover, I think few seconds, it's enough. Let's discover, yeah, of course, it's false. The fact that it's produced by our body, it not means that it's a safe product. Thank you for your participation. We have a second question. It's about the EUH 066, the hazard phrase. The meaning of EH 066, is it the answer A, maybe corrosive to metals, or the answer B, fatal if inhalated, or answer C, repeated exposure might cause skin dryness or cracking, or answer D, can cause dryness or diseaseness? What is the meaning of EUH 066? The same principle. I will give you a few seconds.
So far, Mounir, we have 16% of people who replied. Yeah. So let's give maybe a few more seconds so that everyone can submit. So we have now 23%, 28%.
Yeah. I think we will close it in 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you for participation. Let's discover the result. Indeed, repeated exposure might cause a skin dryness or cracking. So I think the time is coming for Lucky Wheel. Gael, up to you.
Yes, so it's the time to move our to go with our first lucky draw. So let's start. Congratulations to the winner. You will be contacted after the webinar.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Gail, and congratulations to the first winner. So now we will try to explore the human health effect in general, some insight from scientific research. When I was preparing the content of this webinar, I started to make some research in specialized website to download some studies linked to acetone exposure in production or in the daily life. But the work, it was really very important one. It's a huge article, a lot of articles to read and a lot of articles to try to summarize, etc. And I have really a chance because during my research, I was directed via Google to the website of ATSDR. It's the US one. It's an agency, it's an American agency for toxic substances and disease registry. And they made this for me. They made it a few years ago. They analyzed the scientific literature where we spoke about acetone. So they highlight about 614 articles where they mention acetone. And 433 of them, they focus on the toxicological studies, meaning the health effect, the concentrations, etc., etc. And then we will share with you here some findings and some information linked to this very nice summary of this scientific insight. So the first information is the exposure route. Which exposure route are the most documented and the most studied? Of course, without any surprise, inhalation, remember, very volatile product, cover 44% of these different studies. The oral exposure also 32, and the dermal exposure 24%. And if we see that in other point of view in the exposure duration, which exposure duration are really more focused, acute exposure, it's 60%, and the chronic exposure 24%, and there is an intermediate exposure, of course, between acute and chronic exposure. And it's really interesting to see that. What are the output and what are the insight? The first one, it's neurological endpoint. And based on some evidence from human and animal studies, acetone associated with neurological effect ranging from mild neurological behavioral effect or severe necrosis. This effect have been observed following inhalation and oral exposure to acetone. So there is some effect on the neurological endpoint. Hematological endpoint, same. Some studies of hematological effect in human have been mixed, though they see significant change in hematological parameters were observed in controlled human exposure study and a case report. The several studies of oral exposure in rat and mice have observed hematological effects too. The respiratory endpoint may be the most known one. In human studies of inhalation exposure to acetone, of course, they show irritation of the nose, of the throat, the trachea, and the lungs also. Remember, there is a regulation in the occupational exposure limit I mentioned an example of France, it's 500 ppm, and in the US, if I remember well, it's 250 ppm. Ocular endpoint, acetone is also, as mentioned in the hazard statement, is also known as eye irritant based on occupational studies in human and animal of direct contact, direct dermal contact or ocular application. For the reproductive effect, several animal studies have found that exposure to acetone is associated with reproductive effect in males, such increase of the number of abnormal sperm. One study in human found a similar effect, but as you know, one study, it's not enough to validate all this information, all this data. What about the skin? What about the effect of acetone on the skin? There is two studies that I would like to highlight. The first one, it's, of course, if you are interested in all the study, don't hesitate to reach out to us and we will send you the link to the different articles. In the lab, repeated, they made the experience, people who had liquid acetone applied directly on their skin and held there for half an hour, 30 minutes, developed a skin irritation. And when they observed the skin under microscope, some of the skin cells were damaged. So remember, acetone can remove the lipids, cracking, and they can lead to damage of skin cells. It's really very interesting study. Even 30 minutes per day, it's enough to have this this kind of effect, and it's in alignment with the hazard statement, the EUH 066. Another study, maybe it's a little bit old, but it's still interesting. It's Flammability study where they show that the skin absorb also acetone, and they compare the rate of, they compare the effect when inhalating acetone and the effect when applying acetone on the skin, and of course it's absorbed. So the conclusion of the study that the acetone, the skin, it's important route of exposure, and you need to take it into consideration in your safety assessment. Here, it's not only the acetone, there is a lot of chemicals. They are absorbed. Some of them, they can lead to chronic effect on organs. And you need really to think about the skin absorption in general when you are handling chemicals in your areas. Time for a second lucky draw. Gael?
Yes, so it's time for a second lucky draw. One more chance to win a pair of Ansell iFlex 11842. Congratulations to the winner. You will be contacted after the webinar.
Yeah, congratulations for the winner. So now we'll move to another slide and choosing the right glove. We saw it. The exposure, the repeated exposure could be very problematic for workers. So in the industry, I remember sometimes it's really challenging to have a balance and to deal with a lot of risk in the same time. So what we saw for when we use acetone and when the user are looking for protection, typically for the cleaning, for example, they need to have a balance between the dexterity, between also having gloves, for example, that can resist at least minimum resistance to the cut, because some sharp, some materials, some part, they can have some sharp object some sharp area, and this can lead to the cut of the gloves. In other hand, they need to have also dexterity of the hands to have a good cleaning process of the part. This is one side. The other side, the material of the glove need also to be resistant against acetone. And to help, maybe it will be a reminder for you guys, to help the user to choose the right material, they need to have a look and to check three resistant criteria that are penetration, degradation, and permeation. We will go quickly in the definition. And by the way, you can find on our website a lot of interesting assets explaining the three different criteria. But let's go on some refresh, some reminder what is degradation, what is penetration and permeation. I will start with the first one. The degradation is the destructive, it's a change on the material, how we can see it. It's visible. It could be cracking, it could be elongation, or it looks like burning. You will see after in the coming slide, we have some real pictures showing the degradation. So liquid chemical, if they can interact with the glove material and they can destroy this glove and they can degrade this glove. And it's important to check the degradation before choosing the PPE or the material. The second one is penetration. Penetration, it's the movement of the chemical through some imperfection of the glove. We can have pinhole, we can have some imperfections, and there is direct link also between the degradation and the penetration. If I have elongation, if I have cracking, of course, penetration will happen because we will have a small imperfection. We have very small holes that will allow chemical to enter the glove. Sorry. And the last one, it's permeation. The permeation, you can see it with your eyes because it's happening in molecular level. It's the permeation is the migration of the chemicals from the high concentration to a low concentration. Maybe it reminds you some chemical courses in your past, but it's just chemical phenomena. It's normal that we have it, and we need to measure it, to measure the rate of the permeation, because it's very important for the determination of the breakthrough time. The breakthrough time, it's linked to the permeation. And to before I explain what is the breakthrough time, this is some pictures. If you are doing your safety gamba or your safety daily work or training to your operator, please have a look on the gloves. Here I just highlight the chemical gloves, but in general, all other gloves, the mechanical gloves, or in general, all the PPE, check the shape of the gloves, if they have any discoloration, if they have any change in their physical property, for example, here cracking. When we have this kind of damage in the PPE, it means they are not protecting the workers. The workers think they are protected, but in reality, they are not. So you can use this slide as a help to explain it to your workers in the field. So we have animation to explain what is the breakthrough time. I made analogy. You will see, I made analogy with water pipe. In the top of the slide, you will see a pipe of water and the source of water. And I start my experience by opening the valve, and we will see inside the pipe of water going through the pipe more and more and more. And to measure the quantities of the water moving in the pipe, I have a flow meter. And below, you will see it in a few seconds, I have a sample of my PPE, let's say a glove. And in this sample, I put chemicals in the left side, and I start the experience, and we will see more and more chemicals going through the PPE barrier. And we measure the flow till reaching the amount specific amount. So I will play the animation. So you see the two analogies, the water pipe and the PPE barrier, and I have a timer. When I open the valve and the chemical valve also, I start also the timer, and we will see increasing of the flow of water and the flow also of permeation. The flow of permeation, it's when we reach 1 microgram per minute per centimeter square, we stop the timer, and the time in minute that we measure is the breakthrough time. The breakthrough time, it's really used to compare the different material, and it's divided in different group. When it's green, it means that the breakthrough time is really very, very important. So it's important to understand the breakthrough time now, because we have some demonstration to show when we are using the wrong PPE. So here we have some participant, some gloves, and Gael will explain the gloves, and we will play the videos where we see the effect of the wrong choice of the PPE when we are using acetone. Gael?
Yes, so there are 3 gloves that we are going to compare. We have first the Ketone 92600, which is a 100% nitrile glove made with our proprietary nitrile formulation. Then we have a Microflex 93260, which is a multi-layered glove made of nitrile and neoprene. And finally, we have our latest innovation, the Ketone 93800, which is also a multi-layered glove, but this time made of natural rubber latex, nitrile, and neoprene.
Yeah, thank you, Gael. So the first video is, I will first explain it quickly, and we will play the video. We have the 3 different sample of gloves. Of course, we just use the finger. We don't put all the gloves, all the glove for this demonstration. And we put inside each finger acetone. And you see here, you see limit, and please have a look on this limit, and you will see what happened to the gloves. So I will launch the video now. So in the left side, you see after 3 minutes, they stop the timer. The things that you have to see here is the elongation. You see the visible effect of putting acetone with the wrong PPE material. You see elongation, and when we have elongation, there will have effect on the protection, of course. The second video, it's another demonstration. The styrofoam is what we can find in the packaging of electronics and new electronics or a new machine or new equipment. The styrofoam, it's something that it degrades by acetone. So we use this property to show the effect of permeation. So we put a small part of the styrofoam in each glove, and we put the gloves in acetone solution. And after that, we will see the effect of the acetone on the styrofoam integrity. So I will play the video now. Video is coming. So here you see the effect of styrofoam with acetone. It's completely degraded. It's disappeared, by the way. So we put styrofoam in each glove, of course, using the area of finger, and we put it in, immersed in acetone. So after 3 minutes, we remove the styrofoam from the two other gloves. On the last one, we will remove the styrofoam after 15 minutes, and we will check what happened. You see the degradation, but the last one, there is no degradation. So it's really very important to check and to have a look on this kind of criteria, degradation and permeation also. So another slide, very interesting studies done by Ansell. Ansell is a French agency, French organization. They did study, analyzed, they made the assessment of the workers of the nail technician. They are using a lot of chemicals. It looks like a lot, by the way. They are using a lot of chemicals. And for specific reasons, they choose nitrile glove, thin enough to allow precise work. You can imagine that they need to have precise work for this kind of activities. And one of the objectives to wear this glove, it's also to protect the nail technicians against the methacrylate. And the gloves that they are using provide a protection for what they put in this study. It's about 60 minutes. Again, if you are interested in the study, don't hesitate to contact us. We will share the link. Unfortunately, it's in France. But with all the tools that we have now, you can translate them. However, when they saw that the nail technician, they are not only using methacrylate, but they are using other chemicals also. One of the other chemicals are solvent removers, such acetone. So the acetone, unfortunately, degrade the glove material, degrade these nitrile gloves, and promoting the permeation of metal acrylate to so the workers were exposed to metal acrylate. They was thinking that they are protected because they are wearing a glove, but the fact that they are handling acetone, it degrades the gloves and they are exposed to other chemicals. So you see, even maybe if we compare the dangerosity of acetone with methacrylate, it's not the same thing, but the fact that acetone degrades the glove, this leads to more exposure for methacrylate. And why I would like to share this, because maybe you have, you can have the same situation in your activities, that chemical can degrade the PPE material and expose to other chemicals that they are initially trigger the use of the gloves. So what I would like to share with you also, and after that I give a word to Gael, is cleaning. It's happened in one of the aerospace industry. They have a cleaning procedure, and they use acetone solution, and they have high requirement of dexterity because they are using small tools, and they prefer to have thin gloves. I can understand it because the thin gloves allow to have some dexterity. But they have some challenges because the part that they are using, they have sharp parts, sharp areas, and the problems that they have, that the acetone permeate very quickly. The breakthrough time is between 1 and 3 minutes, and they have to do this in all the day. So increasing the repetitivity will increase the risk. So it will increase also the exposure. And remember, the EUH60C hazard statements that repetitive exposure can lead to cracking of the skin and maybe dermatitis also. And the things here, they have some difficulties to find the compromise between the safety and the performance. But we are not in the last century. We have a lot of new technology. We have a lot of new processes of manufacturing the gloves. And please have a look on these new technologies, because now we can provide some protection and increase the safety, And we have better balance between protection and the minimum of cut resistance and optimal dexterity. My advice as a previous safety manager, I know sometimes we don't have a time always to have a look at new technologies and new solutions, but please, at least 1 or 2 times per year to make a focus on your PPE and focus on the audit of your PPE to have a look if they are really protecting or not. 2 times a year, it's minimum, of course. So to help you on the criteria of resistance, I will let Gael to present you a very nice tool. Gael, up to you.
Yes, so in order to help you and guide you in the selection of a proper personal protective equipment, we have the Ansell Guardian Chemical Tool, which is a powerful tool that you can use while searching for permeation or degradation data related to our product. It's using a database of more than 35,000 single and mixed chemicals, and more than 70,000 chemical reports have been generated since 2005. And more than 1,000 reports have been created per month for the last 3 years. So how to go to Ansell Guardian Chemical? So you just need to follow the address that you can see here on the screen, and then you will land on this home page. We recommend that you register or sign in because then you will have access to more chemicals and more features. As you can see, you have several actions that you can perform by clicking on them. So first one is Advanced Chemical Product Selector, as per what you can see here. Oh, sorry, my screen was blue. And this will show you some styles that you may want to consider after entering some details about what your needs are. Then we have the permeation and degradation database. This will show you the permeation and degradation data on our products. And there is also a chemical product test data that will provide you with a list of chemical test results on specific styles. Today, we are going to focus on the permeation and degradation database. So here is what you can see when you click on a permeation and degradation database. So here in the chemicals area, so sorry, my screen is again blue. I don't know why. So, yeah.
No, it's okay. The screen is clear.
Okay. So on the left, so you see there is add chemicals in the search box, and there you can enter the chemicals that you are looking for. And under this search box, there is also a list of other actions that you can perform. Then below you have add products, and in that toolbar, you can enter the product that you are looking for. You can also select if you want to see the permeation or the degradation data or both. And then once you are done with your selection, you can submit the report by clicking on the submit button, and then you will receive via email a notification when your report is ready. If what you are looking for is already part of our database, I mean the chemicals and the concentration, the notification will come quite quickly in your mailbox. It will take longer if it's not something that we already have, because then it will require the intervention and analysis of one of our chemical engineers. So now I pass the mic to Mounir for the takeaways.
Thank you, Gael. Yeah, it's a really very interesting tools. I really like it. Ansell Guardian Chemical, it's helped a lot to have the right PPE. So takeaways today, before answering some few questions. The first takeaway, acetone is present everywhere. As I mentioned in the beginning, I have opportunity to visit a lot of different industry, and it's always the common point, acetone to clean the part, etc. Don't focus only on one hazard. We saw it. Sometimes we think that we are protected, but the fact that we are using other chemicals can degrade the gloves. When you are assessing the risk, please try to consider all the hazard, the use of a lot of chemicals. If in your process, you are using a lot of chemicals in the same times, in the same application. And the second also, there is not please include also the physical hazards, the cat hazard, because if you are working with sharp object, this will degrade your gloss very quickly. The third takeaway, new technologies. New technologies, if we compare the gloss of 20 years ago or 30 years ago and the gloss that we are having now, even in chemical or in mechanical, it's completely other things. So please have a look in the new technologies. And the last takeaway, choosing the right protection is really critical. Remember the different defenses that you are putting in place to protect your worker. The PPE are one of these defenses. And if you think that they are working, but in reality not, because it's not the right one, you will have a hole in your defenses. And this can lead to incident or accident or professional disease also. So please focus on choosing the right PPE. So this is our presentation today. We have a few minutes just to answer a few questions. And in all cases, if we can't answer all the questions, of course, we will contact you with the answers. Gael, did you have a time
yes,
to have a look in the chat?
We start with one. Is eye irritation only caused by direct splashes, or can vapors alone affect the eyes? Eye irritation can occur both. So it's a.
No,
let's
it's the
summarize.
second.
So is eye irritation only caused by direct splashes, or can vapors alone only affect the eyes?
So the question, if it's the splashes only or the vapors. I think I'm sure that the vapors too. The vapors too, of course. The worst case is to have a splashes in the eyes, and the vapors can lead also to irritation of the eyes. And typically, specifically, if there is very low ventilation. If there is very low ventilation, the vapors will accumulate in the air, and they will lead to have irritation on the eyes, of course. I can maybe take another question. If acetone, if acetone evaporates so quickly, does that mean it's less dangerous on the skin? Yeah, it's very good question. Not necessary. The acetone indeed evaporate rapidly, but it still produces a strong degrading effect on the skin. We saw it in one of the slides in the presentation. After 30 minutes of skin exposure, we can see cell damage. So the fact that it's evaporate very quickly doesn't mean that the effect will be less. So evaporation reduced the duration, but not the irritant potential. The irritant potential, it stay always the same. I see also another question. Just give me a second. So, wow, we received really a lot of questions.
Yes, we got a lot of questions today.
Yeah. Is it reversible damage on skin or fertility? No. I need just to precise one thing. The fertility, I just mentioned some studies linked to acetone, and it's not classified as chemical that will cause fertility. I'm not saying that. It just showing some highlight from the scientific studies, and they just found one case in the study. They studied one case, but there is no any validation on that. So don't be alarmist on this one. But for the second part, the first part of the question, the skin damage, if it's reversible, irritation, of course, it's reversible. It's not means if I have irritation today, it will stay for the rest of my life. but the irritation can be repeated, and it's not good for our body, because the skin will be more sensitive, and it can we will have more than irritation. We can have cracking, dermatitis, and weaknesses in the skin. And the skin, as I mentioned, it's a barrier to protect against chemical. So if it's damaged, we will be exposed more to other chemicals. Maybe just one last question. If there is a limit of exposure for inhalation, yes, we have occupational exposure limit, but for the skin, as you know, there is no occupational exposure limit. Gael, I think we will not take more than questions.
Yes, as we are running out of time. So this ends our webinar today. Thank you everyone for your participation. We hope you learned something new and we were able to answer at least partially your questions. We will answer to the rest later on. Help us to improve our future sessions by completing our webinar survey. Have a good rest of the day and see you next time.
Yeah, thank you everybody.